Thank you. Again, it's good to be here. Thank you to Open-Xchange. I do speak Scottish, and I thought that would be a problem. But according to Raphael this morning, German and Scottish is very similar. I'm not quite sure where he got that from, but I'm sure it's true. The other issue is we're from New Zealand. So it's great to be here, but my body thinks it's 5 o'clock in the morning, and what the hell am I doing here? And what am I talking about, and what do I do? We're here to talk about a real-time project that we have in deploying a messaging solution for New Zealand's largest telco. The project started about 2 years ago. The contract negotiation took some time, and we started doing the build this year, and we're just deploying the platform into the live environment, into data center, and we're about to start the migration of the mailboxes off Yahoo. And I believe that we're one of the first people doing the Yahoo migration, possibly the first of a number. It's not just me. I have a double act, a colleague who is a Kiwi, who jumped off the plane this morning, so he's even tireder than I am. I'm the non-techie, but since we were told as a technical audience, Colin's a techie, who had to jump on the plane to talk about that stuff. So I'd like to talk about just why did this telco make the change, just to set the context. What's the solution that we are delivering for that telco? And then Colin will go into the components of that solution and some of the technical aspects around that. As it's working. The drivers, it was my first experience of Open-Xchange was coming here last year to Berlin. And I'd always thought that email was a key platform, and it wasn't just a Me Too product that telcos should provide. And seeing Open-Xchange and App Suite and the approach being taken to the solution, it meant that the telco was looking at email as a key strategic platform to add value to its customers, and the App Suite would help fulfill that objective in delivering that. Telco also wanted to take ownership of its brand instead of using an over-the-top service. Being in New Zealand, for many people in Europe also, data sovereignty is very important. The idea of having data located in the US or elsewhere in the world isn't hugely popular. Security is obviously these days incredibly important. Deploying a platform relatively quickly is also important, as is a low cost of ownership. But the main driver for this telco is minimal customer disruption. They wanted any change to happen almost seamlessly for the end user, which is a fair challenge if you've got the current mail system and you know virtually nothing about it. What we have delivered, or what we are currently delivering, and Colin will go into more detail about this, is a modular platform where we take different commercial off-the-shelf solutions. What we're very good at is integrating and configuring those solutions. So we are dropping into the telco's data center a complete messaging platform which has subscriber management, security, hosting, and analytics, and a single platform which we provide as a managed service. The subscriber management platform is fairly key because the telco's customer-facing staff will access their accounts through that platform and do all of the administration through the user interface. The platform, we think, is also quite unique in that it extracts fairly large data flows in logs and information from the mail flow, which we can use to run analytics and provide information on users and the mail flow. Because we have done the build of the platform and the different solutions, it means 80% of the build is complete, roughly. The 20% of the remaining build is the configuration and customization of the platform to meet the telco's requirements to their customers. That allows the telco to regain ownership of their platform and their brand. And the managed service delivery takes down cost of ownership. And the final part of where we are today is starting on the journey of migration. Roughly 1 million users. And we're probably going to start that migration. We're doing the testing just now. We're doing the dry runs. We have a methodology. For some reason, I'm not sure why, we call it a resettlement methodology. And we're going through the process of doing the tools testing, doing the data maps, the preload, doing the pilots. Live migration will start next year and complete with a cleanup. As much of our time is spent on the non-technical aspects of the migration as there are on the technical aspects. Within New Zealand, data laws and privacy laws mean that customers have to opt into migration. So we're doing a lot of, or rather telco with ourselves, is doing a lot of work with the customers in actually getting them to engage, selling the features and benefits of the platform, and getting them to engage into the migration process, opt in, change their settings on their devices, and actually enable the migration to happen fairly seamlessly. We are setting up a proxy server, and that'll go live on Monday, so that when users start to log into their platform from Monday, it will go through the proxy server, and then we'll start to learn about mail flow, and actually what users are doing and how they're doing it. So to talk about the more technical aspects of the platform, I'll hand over to my colleague, Colin Taylor.
Which button am I pushing? The green one.
The green one forward.
Right. Hi, I'm Colin Taylor. I'm Head of Development SMX. I'm 3 coffees, 3 Cokes to the wind, so you're all a bit fuzzy. I may fall over at any point. So I'll talk about the actual platform we're delivering and some of the implications for migration considerations. But this is intended to be the replacement for Yahoo for our telco partner. This is obviously a fairly detailed diagram. I'm going to go through it in some of its pieces. But it's the culmination of sort of 10 years of a dedicated email company, and now we're providing this platform for the first time as a consumer platform, with some of the implications that brings. There's 4 main areas, if you like, highlighted on there. The management interface, top left, the actual mail server, the MTAs, our partners, Open-Xchange and Dovecot down below, providing the actual email hosting capabilities, and then lastly the reporting stack. So I'll go through some of those now. Show me the button works. There we go. So it all starts with our management stack. This is our provisioning engine, if you like. This is used by us, our partners, the telco in this case, also customers and resellers and distributors in our business platforms, for the management provisioning of our services. As far as the Yahoo migration goes, this starts that process where we have to preload their accounts. We have a RESTful API for that purpose, and so we create the accounts in advance, and the telco will then dual provision into our system to keep that live and up to date up until they cross over for good. So yeah, we provision the accounts. We also provision obviously the passwords, the password types, because there's, by a process of archaeology, we've found out the various formats that are out there that we have to support going forward. And obviously we look to migrate those to more secure alternatives going forward. Also the actual the user accounts, the email addresses, and the billing identifiers that the telco wishes to associate with those accounts. So onto the email security side of the platform. So this is driven around the Momentum MTA server from Message Systems. This is obviously a key component for us. We provide our own custom modules that all hook into this for providing the the mail processing you like, the policies, the rate limits, SPF, DKIM. We also have a pluggable antivirus, anti-spam component. So currently we use CloudMark and Sophos for antivirus and anti-spam. We have in the past, depending on partners' requirements, used other providers. We have our own smart rules engine that provides data loss prevention capabilities, content analysis. In a telco environment, this is perhaps more useful for zero-day attacks. We can mitigate things that we see that our anti-spam antivirus providers haven't yet caught on to. We can, if it's a localized attack, we can respond to it. We do see localized attacks even in New Zealand, targeting banks and utilities especially. We also have a email quarantine archiving component, although it's not directly part of the consumer offering as such at this time. So as far as the migration goes here, we're going to be actually proxying, as Ian said, the Yahoo traffic through this stack, so we can get a feel for the volumes. Obviously, there's been predictions made in terms of hardware, in terms of throughput required. So exciting times to actually find out what the actual volumes are, because it seems to be news to everybody is looking forward to seeing. But that's to come. There we go. So this should be familiar. Obviously, we're running Dovecot and Open-Xchange. The latest versions, I can't remember off the top of my head right at the moment. I can't actually remember my own phone number at the moment, but I believe it's 225 Dovecot, I think is the latest, and I can't for the life of me remember the Open-Xchange version, but we're supporting that on the Scality back end. We also support Ceph, as it's shown here, but with the volumes, the petabyte volumes we're looking at hosting, we've chosen to go with Scality. And this is obviously the POP3 IMAP webmail access for our end users. In terms of migration, the DNS handles some of this cutover for us. Not IMAP though, unfortunately, that requires user configuration changes. Webmail, Open-Xchange, we have a bunch of plugins that we've developed, sort of tight integration with our system in terms of mail forwards, change password, authorization, that sort of thing. And we've worked with Open-Xchange to develop blacklist and whitelisting plugins so that contacts are automatically whitelisted, and that through webmail, users can self-manage their own blacklists. We're also looking at some other capabilities around send as functionality so that users can use external email providers and send through the platform. And then the last piece of the stack is the actual analytics. So all this, all the other components you've seen so far, they all provide a constant stream of data that we've instrumented into the system. And we feed that into our own big data analytics platform. Some familiar open source components in there, you might know, Apache Cassandra especially, is our distributed database of choice. We're predicting somewhere in the vicinity of 50 to 100,000 writes a second into this platform in terms of events, so fairly heavy amount of data. Not the petabytes of the mail storage, but certainly many terabytes. And we're keeping that information for sort of 6 months to a year to help us understand the platform, but also actually for billing purposes. We're required to monitor mailbox utilization. And so we take Dovecot login streams, for example, and use that to track which mailbox is actually being used. And similarly, we look at outbound mail flows, because if an account has a mail forward, for example, it might not be being logged into, but it's still actively being used. And so therefore it's pretty key for us to capture this, otherwise we don't get paid. So a key part of our system, and one that we use to, because it's an environment of which there's quite a lot of unknowns still, obviously, we'll be using this to monitor the performance of the system as a whole, predicting sort of scale and capacity issues before they arise, hopefully. So I'm conscious of sort of mix my tenses a bit here. This obviously, as Ian says, a live project. We are in the process of doing this, doing dry runs, proxying data. So I guess the real test is yet to come. But I think with the careful managed approach that we've taken so far, that we should be okay. There are some considerations also out of our control, for example, rate limits and access to data in timely fashion, but we're working through those as we go. So I think that's about all I have for the moment. We'll be downstairs taking any questions, or if anyone wants to grab me and ask me about any of the technologies, I'd love to talk shop. We also do, as well as Cassandra, we're Clojure, Java, JavaScript guys, so it's our own bespoke technology and a lot of these components. Thank you very much.